So I'm watching the MSNBC's coverage of the New Hampshire primary, and then they had some of the female reporters all sitting around in a circle. It was like a clatch. Like they're just talking, man. They're just talking. They're just talking, getting things out. And Brian Williams was there to kind of help facilitate, in his diminished way. In his diminished way where it's so painful to watch Brian Williams try to be big shot. So here they start to make some really ridiculous assertions about the primary process and how people get to meet the candidates in Iowa and New Hampshire. And let's listen.
Like Bernie Sanders, I spent yesterday on a college campus.
Yes, they can smell
and
they
kept saying that Hillary
somebody like a Marco Rubio
seemed like a politician to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know how they say in television they can tell when you're faking it. I mean, ultimately, when you're in a place like Iowa and New Hampshire, where they're looking you in the eye and they're asking.
First of all, I don't know what that means when they say, and on television they can tell if you're faking it. Television is all faking it. It's all acting. If you watch television, everyone's acting on television. It's all faking. Even when you're reading the news, you're doing it in your newsreadery, fakey way. You're not really talking like a normal person.
I was waiting for her to say, "Oh, sorry, Brian. Oops."
And Brian Williams is right there.
That seems really insensitive.
Brian Williams is right there. Yeah, that's very insensitive. So she's saying that there's no getting, you can't fool the camera. They're all about authenticity and this. Chris Jansing, which is her married name, goes on. She has some more to say.
In the eye, and they're asking you a question. Right. And I met people over the weekend who had been to 5 events, seen 5 different candidates over the course of several days. They get a sense of you.
Yeah, they get a sense of you. Yet the people got to meet all the candidates, all the Republican candidates in Ohio and New Hampshire, and they've still voted for psychopaths. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing?
Well, it comes back to, the thing is just every person I've ever met with a personality disorder is really charming in the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
So, and that's how they're meeting these people is 10 minutes at a clip. Of course they're going to come across as...
First of all, that's just garbage. That's just garbage. They look you in the eye, so they can tell. If they could tell, they wouldn't have picked Donald Trump or Ted Cruz. And if they looked at Ted Cruz in the eye and they said, "Yeah, that's my guy," they're also psychopaths. Because Ted Cruz is a borderline personality sociopath. Donald Trump is for sure a borderline personality sociopath, maybe psychopath. Who knows? But these guys he's a fascist for sure. And so this idea that somehow the New Hampshire and Iowa voters get to look them in the eye. I met those Iowa voters. Hank and I met those guys looking the other guys in the eye. Okay? So this idea, this whole idea you can't fool the American people. You can't. Half the people still think there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So this idea that somehow you can't fool people, they're fooled constantly.
They think there are angels. Forget about weapons of mass destruction. There are people who think that the zombie apocalypse is coming.
That's correct.
What weapons of mass destruction? That's furthest down on the list of empirically disprovable things.
So Chris Jansing goes on. Now she's talking about Jeb Bush. She's trying to make the case. Listen to this. She's literally talking about Jeb Bush. I had to rewind this about 3 times to make sure who she was talking about. She's talking about Jeb Bush.
When he came out tonight, there was
She's talking about tonight after the New Hampshire debate. That's what she's talking about. When she says when he came out tonight, she means tonight after the New Hampshire primary.
Came out of the closet.
There was an energy that we haven't seen from him for a long time, and we've sort of seen it creeping up a little bit over the last several weeks.
He had an energy tonight that we have. It's sort of been creeping up. That's what she said. It's sort of been that energy. Better known as inertia. His shrugs have been electrifying lately. Have you seen them?
He's had slightly less flat affect lately. It's been kind of nice. It's been refreshing.
He's been creeping these past 3 months, she said. Yeah, if you're not creeped out by Jeb's pretending to perv over Supergirl reruns. Are you kidding? Remember when he did that?
Oh, yeah.
I think Supergirl, she's great. Here we go. Chris Jansing has more to say about Jeb Bush.
the last 3 months. I think that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but he has started to feel more like himself. I started covering him before he announced he took this trip to Europe, and all the talk, remember, was about how does he disassociate himself from his family? How does he separate himself from the Bush name? One of the things they're going to write about and teach about when they do classes going forward 20 years from now.
I'll tell you one thing they're not going to talk about when they teach classes and going forward 20 years from now is the guy who finished 4th in the New Hampshire primary. They're not going to be talking about the guy who finished 4th in New Hampshire and 6th in Ohio.
I don't think Jeb Bush is interesting enough to even be a cautionary tale.
When they teach classes about this in 20 years, they're not going to mention this guy. Are you kidding me? They may point to this news report of how screwed up corporate news is as an example of during the day. Okay, hang on. She's got more to say.
In history classes, they're going to say, isn't it amazing that they thought they could put up another Bush as a presidential candidate after the first two?
Yeah.
It's going to be how he has, for better or for worse, stayed true to himself. And
I'm going to say for worse. For better or for worse, stayed true to himself. Worse.
I think that what has happened as a result of that is that people are starting to appreciate a certain level of authenticity that he has, which is...
Jeb Bush has authenticity. Did you just hear that?
Wow.
By the way, Jeb, not even his real name.
Authentic. Jeb exclamation point. Authentic.
Authentic. How does he separate himself from his family? That's the question. I don't know. Maybe run commercials with your brother in it.
Way is the same thing they love about Bernie Sanders, who's the same guy I knew when he was a mayor.
So
Did you hear that?
Did you just hear what she just said? She just said
She compared the authenticity of Bernie Sanders
to the authenticity of Jeb Bush. People are connecting with it, just like with Bernie Sanders. His authenticity, you know how Bernie tells the truth and speaks to power and is going against the establishment. Well, Jeb Bush, he's the opposite of that. And people like that too. People like someone who completely BS's like a politician, is a defender of the status quo, and a member of the establishment. That's what they like. He's authentically holding up the status quo. He's authentically a member of the establishment. What is Chris Jansing saying here? I have no idea.
I like the idea that Jeb Bush is connecting with audiences. He doesn't even connect with his microphone.
Even his, anyway, let's see if she got more to
I
say.
was covering him in local news, and yeah, the authenticity.
And that's what young voters keep talking about in this election cycle, authenticity. That's what they're looking for. That's why they
like Jeb, because of authenticity. That's what they're looking for. Now it gets even crazier. Now, Rachel Maddow asked this group of reporters who Brian Williams called the best in the business. I swear to God he said that. Brian,
swear to God, ladies,
you're
the best in the
them,
biz.
Who do you think is freaking out the most right now after the New Hampshire primary? That's Rachel Maddow's question to this bevy of women. Who do you think is freaking out the most? And watch this. Turns out there's a couple of mind readers on the panel.
I would say Bill Clinton is freaking out the most.
Bill Clinton. He didn't take questions on the rope line tonight. Is
for
that
the
right?
first time. He always takes questions, not tonight.
Wait, so why him? Why him more than her?
Watching him watch her.
Maybe he didn't take questions on the rope line tonight because he already had a piece of ass lined up. Do you ever think about that? We're talking about Bill Clinton. Maybe he already got a handy backstage. Maybe he's already tightened up for the evening. Maybe he doesn't need to go out and meet new people on the rope line. We're talking about Bill Clinton. We're talking about Bill Clinton. Okay.
These last few days, when they've been campaigning together, because previously he was on his own and as a surrogate, just watching his face, he could not mask the recognition that, oh my God, this is happening again. Yeah. She's going to lose.
Andrea Mitchell. She could tell just by looking at Bill Clinton's face that all he was thinking, all he was projecting, That's some pretty good reporting. I wonder if she could
Andrea
look at
Mitchell trying to be a mind reader. Her husband couldn't even read the economy, and that was his job.
Yeah, I was wondering if when she looked into Greenspan's face, what she saw when she said, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You could see he thinks the economy's going to crash. We're a loser. Too bad that she just developed those skills now when it comes to Bill Clinton. And that happened on a news show. You look at his face and he's thinking, oh my God, she's going to lose again. Ha.
We should refer to Andrea Mitchell as Mrs. Alan Greenspan all the time.
Yes, we should.